Hello, everyone. I'm about to say something that might sound controversial, maybe even offensive to some of you, but stick with me here, right? Because if you're serious about financial independence in early retirement, and if you're planning the FIRE game not just to talk about it, but if you really want to win, then this might be one of the most important strategies you'll ever hear. And the strategy is very simple: don't resign from your job, but get fired instead. Now, I know this probably has triggered some of you, and that's just fine. I expect this video to get a fair bit of heat in the comments. Some might even question my ethics, and others might argue about loyalty and professional integrity. But here's the thing, right? I'm not here to play it safe. I'm here to be downright practical. If you want to retire early, live on your own terms, and build a corpus that gives you freedom for the rest of the life, I think you're going to have to make some unconventional decisions, and this is probably going to be one of them. In this video, I'll talk about the strategy and how much you can expect to save or earn. And I'll definitely address your ethics question. I'll also give you some tax saving tips. And most importantly, I'll talk about how to make this whole thing happen for you, right? Personally, I achieved my financial freedom a couple of years ago, and I'm still employed in my current job. I'm currently planning to use this exact same strategy. So please don't think that I'm giving you some crappy clickbaity thing. This is as real as it gets and genuine, right? So let's get started. Before I get into the strategy, I think let's first address the ethics and the loyalty question that you have. This will probably help set some background as to why I chose this path. Many of us were raised to believe in staying loyal to our employer, right? Like, for example, the good employee who puts in the years, goes the extra mile, never rocks the boat. That narrative was real once. Back in the 1950s and 60s, even up to almost 80s, there was an unspoken contract. The company would take care of you, and in return, you would dedicate your working life to them, right? I've seen this kind of firsthand. Let me share a short personal story of mine. My father joined as a junior supervisor in one of the manufacturing companies and stayed with that company for nearly almost 3 decades. He gave pretty much everything he had for that company. And when he retired, I remember the day, very vividly. There was this big farewell garlands around his neck, a small ceremony. His team, who were primarily just workers in the factory, they were in tears, almost hugging and crying inconsolably. For my father, it was a very emotional and a moving day. I was very young at that time. I should say that I was pretty amused to basically watch this whole episode. But look around today. That world doesn't exist anymore, right? Post globalization, we are no longer employees in the traditional sense, right? We are basically resources. We are part of a spreadsheet. And when the company needs to cut cost, they don't think twice. Human capital is just that, right? Capital, mobile, replaceable, and disposable also. So the next time someone tells you to be loyal to your company, ask yourself, is that loyalty mutual, right? If a company can fire you when it suits their financial goal, then isn't it fair that you make a decision to serve your own financial goals too? I know I'm kind of sounding very cold and harsh, but let's just wake up to the reality. It's not about the good or the bad. It's just about how things change with time, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it, right? So with this background setting, I guess we are now ready to discuss the actual strategy. Let's just say you've been working at the same company for over a decade. You've been consistent, reliable, maybe even the top performer, right? But now you've hit your FIRE number, or you're very, very close to hitting your number, and you're considering quitting to finally live that dream of life that you've been always planning. But the problem is, if you quit now, you walk away with nothing extra, just your pending salary and probably whatever is lying in your provident fund. That's it, right? But what if you get laid off, or at least if you engineer an exit where you're asked to leave, you could walk away with something far more valuable, a severance package. And that's exactly what I'm talking about here. Most Indian companies, especially mid to large organizations, offer severance to long-term employees. The numbers kind of vary, but it's quite common to see that 1 month of salary is paid for every year of service, and that's no joke, right? For example, in my company, for every year served, they pay 3 weeks worth of salary, right? And in some companies, they have a capping, for example, maximum of up to 10 years. And that number is slowly reducing. All companies are looking to actually reduce their severance package. So the sooner the better, right? So let's consider an example. Let's just say that you work for 12 years. That's 12 months of salary as a payout, plus your gratuity, your provident fund. That can easily add up to an extra year or 2 years worth of income, tax adjusted, right? So now think what that does to your FIRE journey, right? If you were just 1 or 2 years away from your early retirement, that severance could literally accelerate your timing by those exact years, right? So in other words, you retire earlier and richer by just being smart about how you exit. I'm sure some might say that, but people who hit FIRE don't usually quit immediately. They keep continuing a little longer, right? And that's exactly my point here. Many FIRE-ready folks continue to work for a few more years to build a kind of a cushion, or they want to create a margin and give themselves some options, right? That's smart. Absolutely, nothing wrong about it. But why not make that extra work really count, right? So if you're planning to exit anyway, and especially if you're no longer emotionally invested in the job, wouldn't it be more beneficial to time your departure in a way that maximizes your financial outcome, right? That's the question here. So rather than slog for another 2 years to save an extra, say, 15 or 20 lakhs, you might be able to get that same amount through severance in one go. Again, this isn't about being lazy or manipulative. It's about recognizing how the system works and using to your advantage. Now, I'm sure the next question has popped up in your mind, which is what about the hefty income tax I pay on the severance package? Well, there's a nifty little thing you can do to minimize its impact. If you really time your exit strategically, say, for example, if you time it in, say, April or May, right at the start of the financial year, your severance bonus and the final payouts might fall within that low income year, right? So, since you won't be earning a salary for the rest of the year, your overall income is lower, which means that you fall into a lower tax bracket. This could mean tens and thousands of money saved in taxes, which again can go straightly into your corpus, right? For someone who's walking the tightrope of FIRE planning, this isn't a small amount, right? That's the difference between retiring and at say 40 versus at 42. I hope you're still with me. So the next question I'm sure you would have is, okay, how do I pull this whole thing off, right? You can't just exactly storm into your boss's office one day and say, fire me, please, right? That'll be quite an event to watch. This requires emotional intelligence. It requires a lot of tact, right? And most of all, it requires a very strong relationship with your manager. This is exactly the point in your career where you're almost on a goodwill hunt in a different sense, right? If you've really built a good, a goodwill over the years, and your manager understands your situation and is very supportive, they may be willing to align your exit with some sort of a team restructuring or either a performance review or even based on a cost-cutting measure, right? That's all possible. Sometimes it's just being about, it's about being just honest, letting them know that you're ready to move on, but also open to mutually beneficial outcome, right? In many cases that I've seen, managers themselves prefer voluntary exits rather than a messy resignation or a disruptive farewell, right? So it's all about two things, right? Number one, how you frame it, and number two, the trust you've earned so far. This is all I had to share with you. To some people, I think the idea might seem very radical, maybe even distasteful. That's okay. I mean, not every strategy is for everyone. And I'm also aware that this strategy doesn't work if you're, say, a part of a government job or you're self-employed. But to those who are walking the FIRE path and to those who have sacrificed years of consumerism, upgraded your savings, optimized your investments, and done the hard work, I think you deserve every possible edge you can get, right? So this isn't about gaming any system. It's just about mastering it, right? So before you hand in that resignation letter, ask one question to yourself. Are you leaving a lot of money on the table, right? I genuinely hope this video challenged your thinking or gave you a new perspective. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Agree, disagree, bring it on. Let's have a real conversation. And if you're someone who's walking the FIRE journey or just starting out, consider subscribing. This channel is all about financial independence, intentional living, and building a life that you don't really need to escape from, right? So until next time, stay smart, stay bold, and don't just dream FIRE, design it. Thank you. If you genuinely found this video useful, please consider subscribing and liking the video. And I will see you soon in another video. And until then, take care and happy trading.